Good afternoon, friends. Stephen and Yana Banoon here with Israeli News Live, and we have two very unique guests today. We have Elizabeth Glass, who many of you already know, and we also have, well, I only know her as lawyer Lisa, but a brilliant lady that we were in an interview with not long ago, and also the author of a book that we'll be sharing with you here in a little bit, but it's called World on Mute. It's a book that she wrote, I'm assuming recently, Lisa. If you can share a little bit about that and about yourself with our audience there.
Yep. So here's the book. It's Worlds on Mute. It's available on Amazon. I'm a lawyer of 26 years and I have an environmental science degree with a minor in chemistry. I was called to the bar in 1999. Um, I had my own firm. I went in-house. I have a master's of law in, I have a master's of law in conflict of interest. And I sued the government in the first SARS case, and I started paying attention to, of course, the pandemic. I was busy with, family life and four kids when the pandemic hit, and of course, the restrictions in Canada were outrageous. And we were setting up a system of medical apartheid, and I started leaning in and God gave me a ski accident that kept me in bed for the better part of 10 months. And that's when I really started digging in into the discrepancies. And when I did write World on Mute, which was published in 2025, I didn't know that I was describing a 1B system that fit with the Noahide court that is being set up. And the book covers the speech committees in four areas. So we look at in the book medical, and it goes to an organization called TEDIS, which is the European Union Health Data Act space, and then which is synchronizes as deaths, and that is the AI management of humanity as data. Then it goes into legal and constitutional and political. And I realize there that we're replacing the courts with these speech courts. And then it goes into the social sort of, transgenderism, etc. And then it finishes with speech is the new emergency. In the emergency powers section, I track that these professional speech committees are giving themselves outrageous powers that are black boxes and that indicate will work with international law. And of course, that does work with the Noahide system.
Yes.
So I did write a book about, what I'm observing and how it might fit tongue and groove with the Noahide system. So in that respect, when I started to follow all, everybody else here, I was receptive because I thought, why are we collecting everybody transnationally, transoccupationally, with all the same laws that are absolutely outrageous? Um, so I hope people do take the time to find me on Substack, lawyerlisa.substack.com, and lean in and get the book. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thanks for that introduction. And we have Elizabeth Glass, and our audience already knows her. We had her on several times. So if you want to use 1 minute of a time to introduce yourself a little bit, Elizabeth, for those who see you just first time.
Sure. My name's Elizabeth Glass. My website is elizabethglass.org, and there's links to my social media there. I'm also on Substack. And in 2019, the two youngest of my four kids were kicked out of school because of New York's forced vaccination law. And so at that time, I became an activist. And then I found out that they were giving shots to kids at school, excuse me, without parental knowledge or consent. And I thought that was really horrendous. And so I decided to challenge the sponsor of the forced vaccination law in New York and scored 34% of the in-person vote in the 2020 primary. And so that kind of catapulted me into like kind of had a larger social media following. And then I was invited to speak at Chabad.org, Chabad events in January 2021 about the COVID vaccine. And at that time, one of the other speakers was President Trump's doctor, and who allegedly treated Trump for coronavirus. And so, I was very proud of that fact. I'm Jewish. I'm a Reformed Jew. And so I was very proud of that fact. So I did posts about this doctor. And later, that doctor went on to promote the Noahide laws, which is what we're going to be talking about, which is slated to be the one world religion. And I was absolutely mortified. And so, because I'm Jewish. And so I did a video. What are the Noahide laws and why is Trump's MD promoting them? Uh, because I had to document my opposition to the laws, I had to explain what they are. And that
Mhm.
set me down doing, I had to do a lot of research because of that. So,
Yes. Well,
so
thanks for saying that because some people think that all Jewish people know about Noahide laws, like it's something that they have been.
Oh, we learned it in grammar school. I'm
No,
just
I
kidding.
mean that's the point that they don't know that this is just something Chabad came up with since Schneerson started to promote those Noahide laws. And it's not like it wasn't in a Talmud. It is in a, they were in a Talmud for a very long time. And it was Maimonides or Rambam that codified it as a law that's inside of a rabbinic law. So if a rabbinic system ever becomes universal, that's all they can do is whatever is their codified law. This is how the whole planet is going to be ran. And it's going to be 613 laws for Jews, 7 Noahide laws with several sub-laws, like 100 sub-laws for the non-Jews. And that's the system that they're planning on. And that's why we have you two here to tell us about it from your perspective. So let me go now. But yeah, go ahead,
Before
Steve.
we do that, one thing I just want to throw this out because Lisa had mentioned the beast system when she
Mhm.
was talking. This is only for future reference, but we saw Yana sent me an article the other day from Israel 365, and when I saw it, the Sanhedrin was calling on Syria to actually reinstitute King Cyrus's decree in helping to build the third temple. They're calling on Iran to do that, not Syria, but Iran. My apology.
Oh, yeah.
Iran to actually for them to overthrow the government, for them to reenact the same decree that Cyrus had started originally for the rebuilding of the temple on the Temple Mount. When I saw it, my heart dropped because a year and a half ago, I had produced a video and I actually redid that video yesterday. It's already hit over 50,000 views just in the first 24 hours. But from the book of Daniel, which is written in Aramaic, and as far as in chapter 7, it's not in Hebrew. Aramaic and Hebrew are pretty much the same language, very similar. But Daniel actually says that the one that would think to change the times, it's not the word law, it's not Torah, it's dat. That is a Persian word, it's royal decree. That he would be the one that would think he can change the times and the decree, basically meaning that, and he also says he would wear down the saints of the Most High. And that's a slow grinding, the Aramaic word that is used there. So the point being here is very alarming to see this being announced when it was something a year and a half ago. I said, all you got to do is watch for it. I said, someone's going to come up and they're going to incite the original decree of Cyrus. And they're going to say that it needs to be carried out again for the building of the third temple. I said, and when you see that, then you will know that that system is now starting to take root. And they also called on all Iranians to embrace the Noahide laws for their country.
Officially. It's in
Wow.
there. I'm going to be writing too on my Substack about it. But anyway, now let's go to lawyer Lisa. And I just shared your article just the other day where you were mentioning that Noahide laws are set to be or replace the international law.
Yes. Yes.
So I want you to, because I have mentioned this to people on my Odyssey channel a few years, I mean maybe a year ago. I was showing proofs that this is on agenda. So can you please tell us about this? How they want international law be transferred to Jerusalem, and basically make it a Noahide law for the nations.
Yes. And just for everybody to understand that this has been before the UN. And in 2006, the Institute of Noahide Code, I believe is what it's called, and I can search up the Substack and post it for you. It began a relationship with the UN where it's has stated that it is writing the post 2030 Noahide agenda.
Yeah.
So they indicate they're an NGO at the UN, associated with the UN. They disclose that they are writing the laws all around the world since 2006 and seeking parliamentary, etc., relationships in order to institute the bills around the world. And so that's 2006, setting up it's called the post 2030 Noahide agenda. So the Sustainable Development Goals work with the Noahide agenda, but we always know what the 2030 agenda is. The post 2030 agenda is described as the Noahide agenda. And within that, in their blurb about themselves, and they're out of I think it's a fellow by the name of Steve Cohen in New York. They indicate that the Noahide laws are international law, point blank, that international law is the Noahide law. So it's a very grand statement. When I pass this information on to Jewish people I know, and especially Jewish people in the freedom movement that aren't, you lovely people here with us tonight, they've indicated this is something out of the Middle Ages. Do not pay any attention to it.
Ooh.
And I don't know if that is controlled opposition statements or if that is a naivete or even a negligent stupidity, because really there's enough information available for people to find it and to locate it as genuine and true. I have Noahide code videos from YouTube, so it's, on YouTube, where one of the Noahide code members indicates, he's a rabbi, that all churches are to be closed, all mosques are to be closed, and they should become libraries, because they will have no other purpose. So it is anti-Christian. We see that, but it's also anti other religions, and for the most part, I think it's anti-Jewish in a lot of integral ways because it doesn't allow for secular expression of Judaism or non-Noahide uh, expression. And I think what we need is a lot of Jewish people and everybody else to start talking about the post 2030 Noahide agenda. And they must be so ready because nobody's hiding this information. It's very searchable. It's very findable. And I'm going to be sharing this on my Substack as well. So Steve and Yana, I wouldn't mind you giving a little bit of a blurb about yourself as well. Um, you know, people know me, but you guys are stupendous, and I prayed to meet Elizabeth, and within 6 hours or 12 hours of my prayer, Elizabeth did contact me. So that was wonderful. And then through Elizabeth, I met the both of you. And
Yes,
so I want those people who follow me to know your background as well.
sure. Well, yes, I mean, we are ex Zionist Christians. We are still Christians, but we're just not Zionist Christians anymore. Even so, Steve is fully what you would call Jewish because his parents were Jewish. He is a believer in Christ, and we were diehard Zionists, I would say. Like we would do everything. I have given up all of my dreams just to go with minute to ministry with him and move to Israel. And with all of our heart, we believed that God is centered on Israel and our whole future will be centered in Israel, only to find out that this is all Schofield agenda. It was artificially created. So that way the rabbinic world can get support of Christians, because I believe that if they didn't get that support, I don't think they could ever pull it off. So they needed Christian support from all over the world, and this is how they decided to do it. It's a perfect plan. It's a pre-planned infiltration of Christianity. But how you also pointed out, it's not just Christians. And I'm sorry about my owl cat, but every time we are on the camera, he's here. So we don't know what to do with him, but it's almost
It's
like he
good.
wants to be Israeli News Live icon. But what I want to say here, it's not just Christians. It's not just anti-Christian. It's anti-humanity in general. This is why I want to say this is not just a matter for Christians, although that's where our focus is because we are Christians, but this is a matter of the entire humanity has to understand what's happening here. And when they say Noahide, we know this with Steve. We brought out Noahide code and problem with it for Christians about 6 or 7 years ago. And we caused such chaos with it that they started to be very careful to call it Noahide code back then. And the language became more universal. So now they talk more like universal ethics.
Mm.
Everything is just kind of covered up under this universal ethics. And then we find out that in every single agenda of sustainable development, even the rainforest agenda, you name it, when you go on a economic forum website, every single agenda for a future, it's basically Noahide agenda, but they're just not going to call it Noahide. Okay, so that way people agree to it, but they do not understand how it's going to be run and what it really is, because it will be not only economic new world system or new world political system, new world economic system, but it's going to be new spiritual system. They're going to decide one world religion. They're going to dictate you what you're going to believe, what's going to be approved and not approved. And that's why everybody here is in actual problem. Jewish people themselves are. And you mentioned, are they naive to it? I really believe 99% are. They're just not educated about it. They're very naive, although Chabad is now doing outreach to the Jews themselves, and they are re-educating Jews. They go to assimilated Jews, and their number one job is to bring all of the Jews into Orthodox Judaism, and they're educating them that they're the light of the world, that they're the chosen people, that they need to be proud of their Jewish club and Jewishness, that the world will be separated to Jews and non-Jews, that the goys are there to be submitted to the Jews, and they're something special, and they need to study, they need to be part of that. So, and that's what Chabad organization is now creating. And it's not just here in the United States, it's all over the world. There are in about 100 countries. I know that there were a lot of problems in my country, former Czechoslovakia, or Czech Republic and Slovakia, in Hungary specifically. where a lot of Jews, and you can look it up, it's on mainstream news, where just Orthodox Jews who are non-Chabad are complaining because by government they're being thrown out and from all the positions from synagogues, and synagogues are being overtaken by Chabad Jews, by the specific group of Chabad. So Chabad is replacing all of the Jews. They're taking the identity of the word Jew. So that way Chabad kind of rules. So it's kind of like a head of a snake. So Jews themselves are in a huge danger here. It's not just, as I said, all of us, all
And
the
then
entire
what's worth
human.
mentioning for people who don't know, Yana, that because some people have come to these podcasts for the first time, that the violation is by the sword decapitation.
Mhm.
And so, I can show Bill C9 in Canada, which is now at committee, but could pass at the third reading, which has the forfeiture clause, which I think might be something to mention. But it would be nice if either of you could explain to some of the viewers who might get from my Substack the basis of the punishment for, because it's concerning that this is all going back to Israel, but
Mhm.
how concerning is it? Has to do with what are the consequences for violations, because it's absolutely incredible.
But also, I
Yeah,
just
it
want
is.
to say, and if this is also, if you really doubt that this is a thing, this is why, in my opinion, this is why they are going so crazy, these Zionist organizations, Palantir, whatever, in terms of surveillance, because they want to
Yes.
know who the troublemakers are. And
Mhm.
it's impossible for them to monitor everyone. And so that's why they need the technology in order to do that. So sorry to
Elizabeth, you have
interrupt.
said to me that you had, I mean, you probably didn't bring it this time and we can do it next time, but when Trump was coming to power second time, he was making several statements about bringing back decapitation or specific capital punishments. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure, he was very explicit when he was running for office about, and also in the first time he was president, about capital punishment. And so yeah, he's just been very pro capital punishment. Also in Rolling Stone, February 14th, 2023, it's mentioned in there about he's considering using guillotine, bringing back the guillotine. And that's actually the day that Yossi Gurvitz was found dead, just by
Yeah.
coincidence.
Wow.
So, and Yossi Gurvitz it was a big Jewish whistleblower about the Talmud, and so yeah, one of the things I just realized this last night. So yeah, he was talking about capital punishment for and a lot of people will say, well, it's good. We'll agree with capital punishment for as a punishment for certain crimes, but he was talking about capital punishment for violating anti-Sem like for hate speech. And I'll put in the show notes, I'll document it because the way he phrased it, it was that they can institute capital punishment for anti-Semitism. It seemed clear based on what exactly he said. And also, this is very alarming. This is a new one. I just found this out last night. He's also calling for capital punishment for people in Washington, D.C. who commit murder. Now, two things. There's a lot of problems with the court system. I ran a grassroots court watching program for many years in New York City family court system, and there's enormous problems with the courts. And everyone looks at the court system like it's a saving grace, and I'm here to tell you it's not. There's a lot of problems with the courts. So even if you have someone who is allegedly committing a crime of murder, it's not necessarily the case. And the problem with capital punishment, and Trump wants just very fast convictions. What if the
Mhm.
person is innocent? It's really very problematic. And if for the tinfoil hat people will know that if we're talking about Washington, D.C. This is a whole rabbit hole, but when they come up with laws pertaining to just Washington, D.C., it's a sneaky way to have it pertain to all Americans because of what they did in the years 1861 to 1871, which is a whole matter. I'm not going to go into it here, but I will argue, and I'll do a post on this to make up for this, but I would argue that when they are instituting something against the people of Washington, D.C. It's for all Americans. And the legal mechanism by which they do that is through the birth certificate. They take legal title claims on Americans through the birth certificate and social security number. And so it has to do with that because every state's going to say no, where many states are going to say absolutely no to capital punishment, right? So what are they going to do? So in my opinion, that's their sneaky way of going around states' rights is through laws in Washington, D.C. So in
Go
my
ahead.
opinion, sorry.
Yeah. So I think Elizabeth is really right about that, it being sneaky. I'm gonna, if you allow me to share screen, show you what Canada's bill looks like, and I'll do that right now. Um,
Did it work?
let's put on the glasses.
Yes,
Um,
right
so
here.
share. Yeah. So right now, I guess, are you seeing, right now you're seeing
Yes.
the, what I had mentioned before, which was the Institute of Noahide Court before the UN, right? And so you should, we can share this below in your video, and the Noahide law is to form the basis of international law, um, and the post 2030 agenda, and they recruit parliamentarians from and United Nations states who share the goal of implementing the United Nations resolutions into national legislation. So the post 2030 agenda, it is made clear before the UN that it is the Noahide agenda. So this is, everybody knows what the 2030 goals are, but we're trying to introduce to people to understand the post 2030. So they're going into departments and creating the laws. Okay, and they've been doing this since 2006. So let's take and their headquarters here in Brooklyn. So there you go. If anyone's interested, they speak Yiddish, French, and English. So here are the Bill C9. Okay, C is the third letter. And I don't know if anybody knows numerology, but 3-9, is that 3 sixes? I don't know. So we have in Canada, I'm a lawyer, we have 8 or 9 criminal code offenses for hate already. Okay, and so we're not using those to actually make any prosecutions, and instead we're putting through this bill. And I should note that in 2024, the Liberal Party of Canada had to answer an official party question, which was put forth by, I think it was Jamil Jumani, of an MP for the Conservative Party. It said, how many churches burned between 2016 and 2023? The number was 463. And there's complete silence. If one synagogue, one mosque, one temple is defaced even by a window, let alone 463 churches, most burned to the ground, 2 people died, and do you hear anything about it? And that was up to 2023. And so this, there is a pogrom against Christians, and we're not allowed to know. And under the law in Canada, if we went to human rights resolutions, the papers that they're putting forth now indicate that only racialized people, right, suffer racial discrimination. So that outlaws white on, but Jewish people are not, they fit in the racialized definition. So what you're doing is you're having systematic discriminations in different areas without actual possibility for redress. And so it's an odd system, and it seems absolutely bizarre to someone who actually grew up wanting us all to be equal. And like the pastor Martin Luther King. Bill C9 is this new hate act, and I'm just going to tell you two things to pay attention to is that it's a hate symbol bill, okay? A whole bill about symbols. So it's either the Nazi swastika here in B, you show that, or it's a symbol that is associated with a listed entity, which is a different part of the criminal code. Or three, something that looks like the Nazi symbol or the listed entity. And in debate, when this was submitted, the MP Mark Miller, who submitted the bill, said that Acts, Deuteronomy, Romans, Leviticus are hate. And so what's the symbol they're going for? Could be the Bible. Could be, and he says other religious texts, so it implies that it could be the Quran or other religious texts that they don't like. It could be the cross. And so then the hate is belonging to the group. It's not saying something hateful to an individual who's, very easily offended. That's the sort of what it's promoted. Oh no, it might be hate is too easy to find. It actually has the capacity to grab the whole group. And so there you go. You've grabbed all Christians, and it's being the member of the group, having the Bible, right? Having the cross, or in the case of a Muslim, the Quran, or the Tanakh, right? So for the problematic Orthodox or Reform Jews that are not, consenting to rigid rule by Orthodox Talmudian Chabad rabbis. So then what is the punishment? There's going to jail. Then they buried this forfeiture clause, and I've been used to reading the bills as of late, so I pay attention. And the forfeiture clause here, okay, omits the word property, proceeds of crime, thing, or object. Omits those words, right? And I lean in because this is statutory interpretation. And the Supreme Court of Canada has said that the title itself does not at all lead to assistance in telling you what the clause is about. So while the word forfeiture leads the public to think, oh, this is like, the thing that they use, the symbol that they used. Well, okay. So do you need an entire clause about this? Let's look at it. If a person, okay, there's two ways to read this. That includes a really dastardly, is convicted, okay, blah, 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 blah. In addition to any punishment, so you go, a person may be ordered by the presiding provincial judge to be forfeited to His Majesty the King in right of province for disposal as the Attorney General may direct. So however it gets directed, okay? Another way to read it that is just as bad, okay? Anything by means of or in relation to which the offense was committed. That is action, the means by which the offense was committed. That implies the person, okay? So the person, again, whether you interpret it in a, well, here's the subject, let's, go past everything and find the verb, find what it conjugates, you get to their disposal. Or if you're looking at the proper words in here, anything by means of or in relation to which the offense was committed. So this is, carte blanche already. Is it your house? Is it your bank account? Are they going to, can they take your kids? Is it, your phone? It's anything, right? And the means by which, again, is the person, Okay. And then, it's forfeited to His Majesty the King, and then for disposal. And so I would like to note that a lot of our right-wing press is pro-Israel. And a lot of our, actually, I've noticed in the last 8 to 10 months, a transference in our, what I would say, alternative media has become also pro-Zionist, pro-Israel. They're radio silent on the forfeiture clause. I also have pastors that I've taken this to who say, "Oh, Lisa, we'll have you on to talk about Bill C-9, but don't talk about this forfeiture clause. That's outrageous. That's impossible that it would be that." Like they haven't lived through the COVID years, that outrageous things and outrageous laws haven't happened, and that we
Yeah.
aren't seeing an outrageous society, and everybody has to have their blinders on just to cope, right? And
Yeah.
so, I get my strength from God, and I am a follower of Jesus Christ, and I'm a follower of the Bible because I go to the Bible now for my comfort and my strength, and I know that everybody can get it from a different source, and that's the beauty of the world, that I don't have to have, someone
Mhm.
dictating that off with your head. And for the record, just so we're clear to people who might not have heard it, belief in Jesus Christ is a violation of the Noahide Code. So
It is. Mhm.
this, to tie a bow on it, Mark Miller is going after Acts, Deuteronomy, Leviticus, right? Romans. That's the Christian Bible as well as the Tanakh
Mhm.
and other religious texts. So this is subject matter Noahide, and then the punishment is disposal.
Right.
So
So
why are they targeting Deuteronomy and Leviticus
He
then?
mentioned, I mean,
Oh, I missed that part
yeah,
there.
so because it's used for so-called supposed hate speech, if you quote those verses. I'm not sure why the Old Testament, because what I'm seeing that's happening in United States specifically, rabbis can uh, make videos, and they do, where they're asking for death of Christians. They call Christians Edomites, Amalekites, and then right they will say, "Oh, and who are Christians? Are the Amalekites, and we have the duty or a mitzvah to get rid of Amalekites." Right? They will tell you that they're about to kill you. And these videos are not called hate speech. They're okay. They can stay there, no problem. If Christians were going to make videos like this against the Jews, they must die. They're the Edomites or Amalekites, and we need to get rid of them. Can you imagine the outrage? Which that's not even what we believe as Christians. We love all people and we just preach the gospel. But there is a double standard here when it comes to hate speech. They're preparing some sort of infrastructure, like you just showed in Canada, they're preparing laws. And then in this country, they're passing laws for anti-Semitism. And some of those laws are being passed in the state of Israel. DeSantis went to state of Israel where Netanyahu dictated to him how the law is supposed to be read. And he signed it in the state of Israel against Floridians, against American citizens. So these are the type of politicians we have. And so it's a double standard. When they're talking about hate speech, it does not apply to rabbis.
The image you see here is an image that it's a statue that's at the UN, and
Yes,
it's communism,
it is.
and right, but it's supposed to be, and I want you to just to look at it for what it is. It's supposed to be beating the sword, but what it is it's beating down the cross. And
Hmm.
so they name it for what it is, but I always see what I see, right? You can tell me what you think it is, but that's not going to change how I see things. And that is the UN utilizing its power to beat down the cross. And
Hmm.
then, right, this is, okay, the peace spell. What does it look like? And I'm going to tell you, it looks exactly like a guillotine,
Huh.
right?
Interesting.
Right?
It
So
does.
here's the
Yes.
blade. It's the guillotine. The peace bell is also the guillotine. And so I want you to think that they are telling each other and cueing to each other what it is that we are doing. I don't know if I've optimized for sound, but this is the MP Miller indicating there is no good faith defense for quoting Deuteronomy, Acts, Leviticus, right? So he's signaling that he intends to put the believers into a hate group, right? And then you get access to this forfeiture clause. So that's interesting as well. And here's the universal religion video worth watching where he says there will be no churches or mosques around the world. And he is a rabbi. And yet that has not been submitted as hatred. And of course, I have Israeli News Live in this Substack as well. So one of the things that it's the Jewish year is 5,776, I believe, right? Or 77.
Yes. Yes.
And right, so the Rambam and other rabbis indicated that the Messiah, the Messiah, had to come 200 years prior to the end of their calendar to get to the year 6,000. So we're in the last 13 years where they can, put it together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you have all the way to the UN 2030 agenda, right, with the 2030 goals. And the next 10 years are the Noahide Code agendas. And in that document, the laws of kings that on the geopolitics podcast that we reviewed, it showed
Mm-hmm.
what they needed to do to declare a king. And in Kabbalah, on that podcast, they indicate there was this idea that Jesus's name, they had thought this were Christian Kabbalists or Christians who had tried to convert, I think, individual Jewish people to Judaism who were Kabbalists. They said, well, if we pronounce Jesus as Yeshua,
Yeah.
it will
Sure.
have, yeah, it will have Yahweh in it. And
Yes.
right. And then so I thought to myself, okay, how have they set themselves up to declare their king? Benjamin Netanyahu, right?
Mm-hmm. He
Right.
changed
He's
his
got,
name. Mm-hmm.
yeah, he changed his name to have the Yahweh component. And the Yah in there means from God, and therefore is the signaling to us that he will be the one who is declared king. Or at least
Yeah, his name
that's
actually means the gift of Yahweh.
Yeah. Well, he changed his name, like
Yeah,
Kovsky, but he changed his
yeah.
name to Netanyahu, and he was prophesied by, he met
Schneerson
Schneerson, and
a couple times.
he said to him was given the role to hand the key of the Messiah, key to the hands of the Messiah. This is why he came back. This is why he's still in power. They want to accomplish this while he's still alive and here. So this is something they have on agenda now. This is why Noahide Academy is training Noahide judges, Noahide teachers. It's why they're telling you. I mean, who you showed there was Rabbi Peretz, who is a friend of Tovia Singer. They're
oh,
now working together
Tovia.
to debunk whole Christianity. They're saying Christianity is a lie, and then they are funneling ex-Christians to Noahide Academy. I mean, this is huge. I mean, that's what they're doing. Netanyahu welcomes Noahides in Israel. He's congratulating them. I mean, they're planning on unraveling this world one day. We will all wake up into a completely new system, which I think will be after some sort of a major tragedy again, similar to what COVID was, but even worse, maybe. So this is what they're planning, how they're going to bring it. And they're planning, and as Rabbi Peretz said, they're planning on killing 2/3 of humanity. 2/3 of humanity. And so it's a depopulation agenda, is a Noahide agenda. He says that only people who become Noahides will be allowed to be in the worlds to come. So that's what he said.
Well, in the laws of kings and wars translated from the Rambam, it was translated by Reuven Browner,
Mm-hmm.
Rihanna Israel, and it's part of the Talmudian books. It
Yeah. Mhm.
There's two things to note, and it's that there are wars of mitzvah, and in wars of mitzvah, which are against what they call Amalek or Edomites, there are no
Yes.
survivors, they're extirpated. And all of Rome is extirpated, as well as six nations in the Middle East. And what did we see? So, all we've seen is wars in the Middle East for the last, decade and a half or 2 decades, or longer. And then the Rome is the U.S., Canada, New Zealand, Australia, um, South
Western,
Africa, Europe, and the
Western
UK,
world.
the
Yeah.
Western world, and that is
Mhm.
what is under attack. So I think it's worth mentioning that most citizens of all religions love what's good about the Western civilization. And if we want to preserve it, we have to dig in regardless of our religious outlook or
Yeah,
religious positions. And we have to find a way to come together.
exactly. Well, I want to go back to Elizabeth Glass, and you were you just posted an article about ICE, and I don't know how comfortable you feel about this, talking about this here. I feel kind of endangered because I have an accent. I live in America. I'm an American citizen. I have to say that to everybody. But I have with me my passport everywhere I go because my kids are actually freaked out. They're saying, "Mom, if they stop you, I don't know what we're gonna do because you have accent." And so it
Be like the
seems.
Wild
Look,
West.
they are profiling by race. Okay, there it seems to be a Gestapo type tactics. They're trained in Israel. I'll let you say it all right. But then they have a Palantir to dispose of.
Mhm.
So can you talk about this, Elizabeth, a little bit? Like, what do you think is happening here? What is happening?
Well, it's insane because they have the conservatives are, they're against illegal immigration. And, take how you feel about illegal immigration and put that in a box because there's things that they can do to deal with illegal immigration that doesn't involve disappearing people like in the Hunger Games. And so it's
Right.
astonishing because they've manipulated the majority of conservatives to applaud ICE agents who have, their masks, they're not identified, to drag people off the streets without due process. And in my opinion, I feel that they're doing this in preparation for the Noahide laws. And so
Hmm.
they have the subset of the American population who actually have guns to be pro disappearing people. And it's like, wake up. You don't have
Hmm.
to, people are saying, and I know, Yana, you're concerned, but it's something that anyone who's speaking out against this agenda should be concerned about, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
because right now, Elizabeth, it's about illegal immigrants, right? That's how they're conditioning
It's not
us.
just illegal immigrants. They're doing it to a lot of people. Minnesota, for people who don't know, a lot of people, like if you were a single mom, you're homeless, people in Minnesota are very generous and kind people. And so a lot of people who are having financial difficulties would move there. And so those are people who are very, very liberal, very opposed to the mass murder in Gaza. And so they're an easy target because for rolling this out but it's not just in Minnesota, they're doing it in other places as well. And the Americans are absolutely correct to be very, very alarmed by that. There's no due
Hmm.
process, and they're also going after people who want to do the right thing. They're here, they want to do the right thing and be in the country legally, so they're going to court, and then ICE agents are snatching them and disappearing them in court, which is wildly unlawful. And I'm not an attorney, but I know I did a little bit of research because I did a post on it, and it's just absolutely shocking that Americans are not up in arms about it. And Americans are
You know
like the one
what's shocking?
country, we're the one country where we can do something about it. Do you know what I mean?
What's
Because
shocking to me
What's
that it's far-right conservatives are for it.
I mean, I think that the conservatives are more foolish for being for this than the liberals were for injecting mystery ingredients in 2021. You know what I mean? They trusted their doctors or whatever, but to be accepting of this is just
Mhm.
is absolute insanity, and we
It's the
look like complete
blindedness.
crazy people to other countries. Sorry, Stephen?
It's the blindedness of Trump. I mean, Trump has become a cult. It really has. I mean, they were so dying, starving for someone to replace Biden, and of course, even before Biden, when Trump was in before, and they thought, oh, he's really going to bring back America, make America great. They don't realize he's just another puppet. And of
Mm.
course, Trump's under the tremendous stress of all these oligarchs that know that he was involved probably with Epstein and all this mess there, and that if he isn't a good boy and does everything that he's told to do, that they will release all this and make it public for him. So he's going to give them whatever they want. And then, of course, all of the yuppies that are following him, that have fallen for his lies, hook, line, and sinker, that thinks he can do no wrong. You can't help but think, what is this, skull to brain technology? They hypnotized the entire mass Republican Party and dragged them into this cult of Trumpism. But I mean, it's like when Mike Pence was his running mate. Oh, the trumpets. It sounds so Christian, doesn't it? The trumpets are blowing. Well, it should be a warning to you, is what it should be.
So it's
Go
actually
ahead.
it's the year of the trumpet right now, which is interesting because that's the name of the Jewish year, the year of the trumpet. So how n- natural is that? But I read something called the UN Migration Compact, which was signed by most nations, and in terms of migration, I see it as a cattle stamping operation because as the migrants come in to get all their benefits and what have you, they're getting their biometric uh, digital ID, right? They're getting into the system. And if they don't get it coming in, they can get it coming out. And in that document, it states that all migrants will receive biometric digital ID to the city, right? So you're going to get your quadrant ID. That thing that was signed by I don't know 186 etc. nations sets up a one world government with borderless worlds that coalesce onto your 10-minute city because your new ID is going to be your 10-minute area or what have you. And then something else worth that you have to sort of pack into that is that January 10th, 2023, Biden, Trudeau, and Oratz out of Mexico signed the Declaration of North America.
Mhm.
And so if the Declaration of Independence sets up the US, the Declaration of North America undoes the countries, right? And borders are just the means by which you can enforce for the movement of people the next level of biometric digital ID, right? So it's like, oh, I'm crossing into the US or you're crossing into Canada or what have you, you're going to get uploaded into the system, right? You're going to
Mm.
get uploaded into the system because if you're already part of this Turtle Island and they're not disclosing it. So when you unpack that, Canada's being polarized to be against the US, right?
Yes.
Like, not us as Canadians so much as the media and the leaders, right? So you have Carney saying New World Order, and he's like aligning with a CCPEU, right? And then you're going to have, the Taiwan US Israel, and I think Russia's going to like make its way into there or Ukraine. Like I don't know. So you have this polarization, and the Venezuela Maduro thing looks a little bit to me like Franz Ferdinand being shot, right? Because it didn't truly even achieve a regime change. So if it's a CIA op, it was actually going to achieve a regime change, they'd put people in there to run the country in a different way. And yet you have the number two VP as virulently communist. So all you did really was to coalesce all of South America, Latin America against the US. And then you got to look at food chain reaction game, which plotted 2020 to 2030. And it has a big famine coming in 2028 and an unconscionable world war. And in that plot, it says how the Ukraine war is going to settle. The world turns on Ukraine when it does a food deal while we're all starving with South Korea. So
Mm.
they're ally in the war. So we've seen some stuff just happen in South Korea to set that up because so you need all the players in the game to be polarized. So we're on a black square or a white square and world war happens because that's another depopulation. So if you look at the COVID scam, we're at war scam. And when we polarize between whether it's left, right, Israel, Palestine, whatever it is that we're seeing here in the US on the ICE immigration, what we're doing is setting up the conditions to be scammed into our own depopulation effort, which then enables the post 2030 Noahide code. So it's a geopolitical agenda that we're watching, and we're fools. We're fools for polarizing in the ways that they want us to. And so I would say anybody who's there going left, right now, you're setting yourself up to feed into their fake World War III
Yeah,
agenda.
absolutely. Go ahead,
Oh,
Elizabeth.
guess who is presiding over the Maduro trial in New York City, which is it's just more
Jewish
proof that
judge.
there's what's that?
Who?
What's
It's a
that?
Jewish judge.
Yeah, an Orthodox Jewish judge, born in 1933. Just thought I'd mention
Yep.
that. Also,
So
very
he's gonna have Maduro will have Noahide proceedings.
Well,
well, yeah.
I have a feeling he may be indirectly charged under a Noahide code, but it won't actually use that
Not
terminology.
yet.
And he actually, Elizabeth, there was another famous case that he presided over that made me think this, and I forget what it was now.
I don't know. His name is Alvin Hellerstein. Very
Yeah.
elderly. He's 92 years old, and he's well known, well respected. But there's he, they abducted him in another country and brought him here. That's
So much for what is that?
Immunity.
Immunity,
Immunity.
yeah, diplomatic immunity. He didn't get none, did he?
Hmm.
Yeah. By the way, they're getting rid of Rikers Island, which was the one jail for all of New York City. It's on an island near LaGuardia Airport, and it's very controversial because they're constructing four jails within the city, and the one in Manhattan is so controversial. It's slated to be finished in 2032, and I have some questions about if they're establishing
Noahide
capital
court
punishment
system right out
facilities
of New York.
in
Yes.
what's that?
That sounds like a Noahide court system right out of where the United Nations is.
Yeah, it's in downtown, not near the UN. It's Lower Manhattan, but it's in Chinatown, and it's and I tried to see the architectural design of the building, and of course, because it's a jail, they're not disclosing that, but my question, I'll say this publicly for the first time, is are those jails, and there's also ones going to be in the Bronx, not in Staten Island, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and Manhattan. Will those jails have guillotines? Someone has to say it, so I just did. So,
Yes. Hmm.
I
Interesting.
sent I sent you guys an article today that Canada can't afford its prison system, and we just sent 21 billion to Ukraine last week. And so that's another thing about the Noahide code is that even if you steal so much as a penny, the the punishment is decapitation. It's the
Yes.
same,
Hmm.
right? And so you don't need prisons, you just need fast acting guillotines. And I did a post that showed Canada had ordered for 2020 um, hydraulic guillotines. Okay. And the retort, yeah, from the media when this came out or from the government was that it was paper cutters. And so in the RFP, it said it was to deal with COVID, we need, we're going to deal with the COVID era, we need hydraulic guillotines. And so, what about COVID required you to cut up so much paper that you would need hydraulic paper cutters, right? So the idea that the hydraulic guillotines, which it says hydraulic guillotines, it doesn't say paper cutters. The government's response was that this was for paper cutting in the COVID era. So we don't know if those guillotines are already in place in Canada.
Yes, well, I'm sure they are here too, all over the world. It's just they're preparing infrastructure while we are all distracted against each other. Left against right, internally, Christians are so divided over doctrines, it ain't even funny, So the most hateful speech I'm getting is actually from Christians. So, but what I will tell you here is when we talked about no jails, no prisons, and swift executions, this is actually part of Noahide system, and that's what Schneerson propagated and promoted. In fact, Chabad organizations have a lot of lobbying for stopping prisons. They are saying the prisons are not necessary at all, that they're cruel, they're bad, the prison system doesn't help people. They want rehabilitation instead of prisons. And it sounds so good. It sounds great. Like they want to rehabilitate criminals. We don't want to keep prisons going. But what it actually is, that they want swift executions instead. Like, you're guilty by Noahide law for stealing a grape from some, agricultural. I don't know. You won't be able to steal even something less than a penny. So what's less than a penny? Yeah, I was trying
Well,
to
we
find it,
did
but
away
anyway.
with the penny in America, so therefore we don't have to. Now it's got to be a nickel.
Okay, well, that's another thing. But anyway, they don't want prison system is no high. That's too much. They want this perfect utopian society. No prisons exist, looks good, but they want very swift executions. And that's what they're gonna do. And you know how it is, and you're a lawyer, so you tell me. On the Noahide system, uh, the Gentiles will have one judge, one witness, and circumstantial evidence is okay. So there is no constitution, there is no legal protections.
There's no legal protections. Well, it's not really a moral system. So in that respect, it's not legal because, laws should be moral. And in my view, when you write out tyranny and expect that that be law, it has no moral requirement to adhere to. Just because you write out the word tyranny and you codify tyranny, it means nothing. It's void ab initio. It lacks, this whole system lacks entire moral foundation, right? It's a hideous supremacy. It's a hideous manner to codify murder, a mass murder and genocide and extirpate people on the basis of, some idea of supremacy. And that might be convenient, but I think, next to all of this is demonic and satanic because this is ultimate power. And that
Mhm.
kind of power, what's next beside it, it is Satan. And, I think it's Ezekiel where it says as a watchman, you have to blow and the horn. And it's not merely, for the innocent that may be slayed that we need to blow the horn. It's because they may die in their own iniquities. And they who are pushing forth this, that are deceived, that there is either no hell or that their soul is not headed there. That you cannot speak to demons and look for demonic guidance in the spiritual world and then think in any way that there is no hell. So no, this must be dealt with in that respect. The other thing about the Noahide Code is that it does work with euthanasia laws in Canada. And so there's two things, right? They are now proposing that euthanasia laws in Canada, that once you've consented, you can't at a later date withdraw your consent. Okay, so you can, if you're saying no, you're screaming, you're running away, you're pushing them off, you're indicating you don't want to be killed, it doesn't matter. Okay, so park that. When I first looked at the euthanasia laws in Canada, it said that someone else can sign your consent form if you are not able. Okay, so not being able to sign your consent form, this is demonic writing, and I always read demonic writing the same way. I can see what they're implying. They're implying that, oh no, you've got ALS and you've lost the ability to use your hands or nod or anything, and so your sister-in-law, who knows you really well, has your consent and knows that this is it, and she's going to sign your form. But no, unable the is not defined. You could be asleep. You could lose the legal capacity for being, a Noahider. You could lose the
Mhm.
legal capacity for your speech, for your standing up for Christ, or, if you're Muslim, the Muhammad, or or, Jewish Tanakh, or, just secularism. You could be, unable could be a legal definition at a later date. Now, who can sign the form? Well, everybody on the planet can sign the form. The only people that cannot sign the form are who is a beneficiary in the will, okay, or someone actually performing the euthanasia, okay? And so, in that respect, the government, every other employee in the government can sign your euthanasia form. So you've lost the capacity, the legal capacity. Is that because you've been forfeited? Right? And so then the euthanasia, you're thinking that the dispatch is the manner in which could be your hydraulic guillotine. So both the euthanasia laws, the prison systems, what we're seeing in Bill C-9, they portend of this post 2030 Noahide order. So we've been concerned about the shots, and we have to, as a freedom community, and as humanity, we have to get out of our boxes, whether you're rainbow, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Sikh, it doesn't matter. We have to get out of our boxes and work together. Left, right, vax on vax. Like, we're still stuck. We need redress for Fauci. And we have to start passing them on the curve. And some of this media has us looking behind, so we don't know what's coming. Right? We
Mhm.
don't see what's coming.
Right. So, okay, we have proposed already. You have proposed, Lisa, what to do. We can come together. So, with this, I would like for each of you to tell people, what do you think the solution is? How do we even fight such monster? I mean, they're ready to go. They have been pre-planning this for a very long time. They're strong. They're well funded. We are not funded. We're not. We don't even. We are so divided. I have a uh, we've been talking with Steve back and forth. Is this going to go through or not? Because if it goes through, I don't want to live on the Noahide system. I will not agree with no rabbi running my life. So it's just not going to happen. Uh, so what is your proposition? What do we do? I mean, we talk about it here. Many other people talk about all kinds of things. There is million of other people doing podcasts. Everybody talks about it, but nothing is done. We only say, oh, they already have this. They're doing this. We uncovered this. We know what they're doing. But what are we going to do about it?
And the get will be the worst, least of your worries.
What are we going to do about it?
Well, first, I'd like to say we're not
Elizabeth,
alone.
do you know what a get is, Elizabeth?
I do know what a get is. You can't get
Lisa,
it's
do you know what a get is?
No.
That's a
That
whole
is,
nother discussion. Wait, Sid, this
yes,
that's a whole nother discussion that we
Yeah.
really should be talking about women's rights in the context of the Talmud. I would love
yes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Listen,
yes, I
the
agree.
whole Noahide agenda and women, all these women who are signing up and doing Noahide
it's
oaths
so
with
bad.
they have no idea what are they up to. I mean, they are about to unleash how women are going
Yeah,
to be ran.
they are.
This is going to be extreme patriarchy.
That's
Patriarchy.
Lisa. That is the rabbinic giving you the legal right to divorce your husband when he's a real, you know
Right.
what?
I have
Yeah.
heard that. Yes, I have read that.
Hmm.
But it had escaped me. I think what we're describing is David versus Goliath,
Yes.
and David versus Goliath is a fine place. If God is with us and really truly, how could he not be? I'm just like astounded that I can make a prayer and Elizabeth Glass contact me in 12 hours. I can't imagine stumbling into all of this information, getting a blessed ski accident, writing my book, and it be, just this accident of my life. No, we have to lean in to God, and God is absolutely 100% amazing and incredible. And we have to listen. You know what they say, knock, and you will have, he will answer. We have to listen for what our direction. If we think we are, I mean, I believe we are the actors for sure. We have to be actors in this scenario, but we're not facing a demonic order by ourselves. Anytime there's a demonic order, boom, I can tell you God is here and God is real. No, 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 no. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know if I'm going to how I'm going to meet my end, but we've all been born mortal in that our end comes whether Mr. Rabbi brings it from Chabad or otherwise. And so we should not live in fear. And in terms of how David deconstructs Goliath, we'll find out. Some of us, our roles are to convince. Some of us are prophets in terms of to describe what we're seeing. Some of us are ambassadors from communities like Elizabeth. You know, we're each to our roles. So, you and I, everybody here, we're going to pass the baton to another type of person, right? The person that's going to take down the smart city, that's going to hack up the system, that's going to whatever it is, right? That's going to take a sawzall to all the cameras, that's going to hack their Palantir robots. No, I know what I'm good at, and I've just been doing what I'm good at. And so, if what we're good at is bringing truth to people, we have to trust that God is with us and with the people that are listening to us.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah. What do you think, Elizabeth? How uh, basically, as I know you, Elizabeth, you're just gonna say no. You're gonna. I don't think you're
Well,
a woman that will submit to none of that.
well, for me, just prior to 2020, my perception of Orthodox Jews versus assimilated Jews, my perception was that Orthodox Jews were better than assimilated Jews because I saw them just busy caring for their children, doing good deeds in the community. And so there's this surface reality. And assimilated Jews, they're just, kind of like lazy. I'm an assimilated Jew, go to synagogue on the high holy days or whatever. And so there's the reality that people see, and then there's the truth that's under the surface. And what I endeavor to do and I encourage other Jews to do is to look underneath the surface. There's a lot of people waking up about the vaccine and about, if they could lie to us about injecting a bioweapon being beneficial, just imagine what else we're being lied to about. And so the lies go back all the way to how our country was founded. And that's a whole other story, but the lies are so deep. And so I encourage other assimilated Jews to look at this because, in my opinion, and I learned this from you, Yana, that the reason that Chabad is trying to embrace assimilated Jews is because they view everyone who's observant and abiding by the 613 laws as godly, and everyone else is not. The Gentiles are animals. And when I found this out, I was absolutely floored. I never heard this about the Talmud in my 50 years of life. I was absolutely shocked. And so what they're doing is the Chabad is there to try to embrace, assimilate the Jews to be Orthodox, to be religious. And I
Yes,
know, I know a lot of assimilated Jews, and they're going to be like, a heck no. So
right.
my question to the assimilated Jews listening to this is that where does that leave us? And in my opinion, I think they're just going to toss us in the goyim bag
Yeah,
because
oh yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
I don't know,
I'll
Elizabeth,
have you.
because let me kind of throw this one at you.
well, certainly the women have if people knew
Well, you
the
guys are
way
going to
that
get
they
it
view
tough
us.
because of being
Yeah,
girls, yes. But a friend of mine, Chris, whose whole family is Mossad, he wrote me recently and he
yeah,
was cussing me out. He says, "What did you do to, what, the Knesset to make them hate you so bad now?" He said, everybody hates you in the Knesset now. And he said,
it's
but
use.
at the end of the day, he says, I hate you. He says, but you're still a Jew. I don't care if you believe the JC guy or not, you're still a Jew. And so we're going to have to deal with this, So the thing is, though, is what I say this, though, is because there is going to be basically a reindoctrination program for people that are Jewish. And if you're not, that doesn't matter if you believe Jesus or not, they're going to try to reindoctrinate those people. And then if you can't be
Yeah,
reindoctrinated,
kill you.
then maybe you'll go to the going back. Well, we got to have 72 judges. Is that what it is, or something like that?
Well, no, no. Only Jews will have seven judges, maximum for capital punishment. But it, it's very difficult to execute Jew under Noahide system. It's the way law is done. It's not even possible because when Jew does something to deserve capital punishment, he has to have a witness that saw him do it and forewarned him
Right.
not to do it. So come on. I
Well,
mean, so
yeah.
yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, where do Jews come in? All Jews who do not go along will be just as much killed and persecuted. So, so
Yeah.
Elizabeth, you're not going to have it any better.
Right. And so this is something that assimilated Jews really, I encourage them to look into. And this is why they're doing what they're doing to the Palestinians, because it's the Noahide laws manifesting
Yes,
in Gaza. That's what that is. What happened to
Exactly.
the Bolsheviks, what the Bolsheviks did in Russia, that's the Noahide laws manifested. And this is just a reflection of people not knowing the truth about our history. And it's not all Jews. It's this group
Well,
of
the
Well, you have a
Illuminati and the
lot of
Masons
Jewish
as
people that
well,
are not
right?
for it.
yeah, yeah. And so
yeah.
the Jewish people I know, I've said this before, everyone I know would be completely opposed to this. But at the same time, I did
Right.
that video in 2022 about the Noahide laws. And I've had one Jewish person reach out to me and say, you know, Liz, you're right. This is really bad. So silence, in a legal sense, silence is considered consent. So the fact that I don't hear Jewish people talking about this is, it's, I
I
think that
can't
Jewish,
imagine Jewish people really know at all, right? I dated two Jewish men, and I lived with one, and I knew the other one in the family so well. I used to have dinner with them every Friday night, and or most Friday nights. And they were so lovely to me, and they met my family. They were Reformed, they were atheists. They asked me to convert, and I was like, "Well, I believe in God, and you're atheist. Like, what's the convert? Like, I don't want to convert
That's
to
a
you,
great connection. An atheist
right?
will convert to Judaism now. Love
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I'm, and so, and I still think back to his family, and they were so lovely to my family. When they met them, when I graduated from my master's, and there's no way they would be like, and at some point we're going to decapitate all of Lisa's family. And I'd even gone to Reform Synagogue, and I wanted to learn, and I couldn't hear a thing that the rabbis were saying. They were up at the front looking at scrolls, and I thought to myself, well, should it like and nobody, everybody was talking about business and their families. And so
Yeah.
this wasn't like how I knew what a mass was, what a Christian mass was. And so would they get information about the Noahide system? It just seems like if they're going at high holidays, and the little interaction that they have, doesn't seem like it's conducive to even knowing the scripture, right? Or the Tanakh, or whatever is being described. Like, I couldn't even make out. There was some singing, there was some wailing, and nothing I make out. But so that would mean the whole congregation of that synagogue has no idea, you
No,
know.
they don't. They genuinely don't have idea. They live their limited religious lives and go about their daily lives and business, and they identify with the religion they were born into. They don't understand that this system is just, it's at the very top for, it's a dynasty
Right.
that's
It's
running
like
this.
Christianity. They only
So,
know what they were born into and the doctrines that they
right.
believe. And that's why they think that they're supposed to support Israel. And I do believe with Jewish people, one thing that you'll see is like in the case of Gaza, when you get something really extreme and really crazy and really violent that they know is wrong, that's when Jewish people begin to stand up and speak up. And it's going to be secular Jews almost every time that are going to speak up.
And
And
I do want to say it is a lot of Jews that even let us know what Judaism believe. If not Jews letting us know, we would never know. And let me give you a few names. Miko Peled, for example, he's not a Christian. He's a Jew who speaks against the whole system and let us know what was the true history of 1948 Israel. How did it really happen? Was it really empty land? No, it was not an empty land. So listen to him. He's got a book and a lot of videos on General's son. Okay, that's the name of it, General's son. Start listening. He's a Jew. He let us know. Listen to him. Another one, Gideon Levy, Yossi Gurvitz. These are just two journalists that we know, but there is many other journalists. If you go on Haaretz newspaper, you can become their supporter every month or every year. Then you can get to all the articles. It's not that expensive, like 75 a year, but then you can read everything. There is a lot of journalists exposing Israel, rabbis,
David
pedophilia,
Feynman,
pedophilia in Israel.
yes,
Bari Chamish was our good friend. He was an Israeli who was forced to come live here to United States, and he was killed. He was killed. They were after him because he was telling the world the dirt that Israel is doing. Okay, so I give you those names.
of course,
Israel Shahak.
Indian before.
Israel Shahak, amazing. I think he passed away now, but amazing professor of chemistry in university in Jerusalem, who wrote several books exposing what rabbinic Judaism is about, what they believe, and how perverted it is. Okay, Eran Efrati, a Jew, Israeli Jew, son of a Jerusalem police chief.
Yes.
Who was coming to universities in United States warning everybody that police of United States is training with Israel on Palestinians, and the same techniques are going to be used on people of United States.
And now they're
This
doing
is
it.
why ICE is such a worry for me. They're being trained in Israel, and their techniques, and look at the techniques that Palestinians are under and how Israeli IDF is handling Palestinians. It's the same thing how ICE is handling people here now. So start making this connection. So yeah, a lot of Jews are exposing Jews. They're not bad people. They're, just Jews. They've been born with that identity, but they don't want this to happen. They don't want this to happen. So, but yes, us as Christians, and I agree, we believe in Jesus Christ, and we believe that we are here at war with a very evil entity, and Satan is using rabbinic Judaism to bring about Noahide laws on the entire globe. And I think that's something we have to identify and expose
And I
and stand
think
against.
it would be interesting to do a podcast to try to link it to the Illuminati and the Masons, because there's some overlap, and I think the system that we're talking about that comes from actually the Canaanite system. It's actually not the sort of the original Israelite system. The Canaanites were the Phoenicians at the time of the Egyptian, and all that the satanic practices that later got formalized into the Talmud and the Zohar.
Yeah.
Those really are not Israelite practices. They were what the Old Testament told the Israelites to avoid. I mean, not that they did. There was a lot of commingling, but that Canaanite system that is entering in to eliminate Christians, it is infiltrating not just Judaism, right? So the Masonic Illuminati system is also that part of that, and that
Yeah.
enables them to capture the goy, right, into the system to enable, their own sterilization and the end of their own civilization. Um, and they've obviously captured Christianity, Protestant, through the Protestant and the Catholic, right? The Jesuits have the Catholic. And I've got to tell you that it wasn't until COVID that I really started reading the Bible. Because as a Catholic, I had half my family was Catholic, half my family was Protestant. And so I didn't have any sort of preconceived where I have to hate one and hate the other. I watched them dislike each other, and I was like, well, that's absurd. And right, that's absurd. It makes no sense. But I went to a Catholic school for years, and they don't tell you to read the Bible. Okay, read about the saints, right? Read these prayer books, right? And so, but there's something fundamentally profound in the Word of God. And so, and that was the same thing when I was interacting with Reformed Jews, as I was very surprised. I'm like, well, you don't know your scripture. You don't know, right? So it's like the organized religions are taking us away from truth, because that's what gives us incredible ability to recognize what we're seeing, right? And because, it gives us the ability to see it, and then it gives us the inner strength to stand up despite it.
Right.
So I think
form your
that's
own relationship with God without the religious religion in it. So I agree. All right, ladies, listen, it's been long, so we can't keep it this long because believe it or not, we're gonna lose audience.
No, I'll fall asleep.
They don't have they don't
the
have
attention
like
span.
attention span to listen so long, and they will listen to first 20 minutes and say, I don't have time, and then they will never get back to it. So I wanna keep it kind of for them. I'd rather meet more times and do shorter programs than one long one, honestly, because I just know how people are. So
Yes.
anyway, I
He's
appreciate
saying, are we
so
there yet?
quickly, if you can, both of you, spell out for people where they can find you, okay? And then with that, we're gonna end. I want to thank you for taking time out of your Sunday and be here with us. So go ahead, Elizabeth, tell them again how they can find you.
I have a website, elizabethglass.org, and there's links to my social media there. Thank you so much.
You can get my book
Okay.
on Amazon, World on Mute by Lisa Muro, and I'm at lawyerlisa.substack.com. And thanks for having me on. I love watching your podcasts. So it's great.
Thank
You
you so
guys,
much.
Thank you.
everything will be in the description below. And you guys want to just jump in the description, you'll be able to find all the links that these ladies have described here. And definitely, I'll put the Amazon link as well to Lisa's book, so you can order her book as well. And we certainly wish you a great success on it. Who was that we had on? I forget his name now. You actually asked about him recently, about coming on again. Anyway,
James
yeah,
Perloff.
James Perloff. He said that when he was on our program, and he was talking about one of his books, he said, I sold more books on your programs than I did when I was on with Alex Jones. He said, I don't know how you reach so many people, but you manage to, whether they see the views or not, it still reaches out there.
So we hope that your book sells, and I'm getting it today. And James Perloff is just another great man showing all the truth. So
We need to
that's
get
another one.
Gideon Levy
Yes.
on. He's actually emailed me before, and I need to. He told me to wait to the first of this year, so I'll reach back out to him again too.
Okay.
So
Well, thank you again, ladies. We love you all. And thank you for being here today.
thank you. God bless you
Bye.
guys. Bye.